On behalf of Westernacher Consulting, a warm welcome to today's session, where it's all about supply chain orchestration with SAP Signavio. My name is Johannes Strasser. I'm happy to host you here today, together with my colleagues, Lina Winkler, our business process analyst here at Westernacher Consulting, and Philipp Wüst, our head of process mining here at Westernacher Consulting. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this planet. We have people from all over joining. Thank you so much for taking the time. We don't take it at all for granted. We owe you something. We owe you 15 minutes of great content of value, because you freed your time next to your busy day job. You freed your time. We appreciate it. We don't take it for granted. And I suggest let's kickstart the session right away. All right. Supply chain orchestration with SAP Signavio. So actually, what does it intends to be about this entire session? So we all know that change is everywhere. If you follow the news, eventually it's nothing new to you, but we are a big fan of the quote from the former SAP CEO about change, which has never moved this fast, and it at the same time will never move this slowly again. If you think of the latest technology out there about AI, all the intelligent solutions, robotics, etc., we have the feeling that we lose a little bit our grip. We oftentimes think back how it was before COVID. We oftentimes strive to be back at the new normal, but at the same time, what is normal nowadays? So all in all, it's about also getting familiar and resilient with today's fast-moving business world, because we face as many challenges as never before. And when it comes to the challenges, I'm happy to hand over to my colleague Lina, who is emphasizing on both external and internal challenges companies are facing today.
Thank you, Johannes. So yes, that's right. Challenges of today is that the new normal is that there are a lot of external challenges like global competition, supply chain disruptions, as well as a very fast-moving and digitalized AI business world. But besides the external, there are also internal challenges, which are, for example, employee engagement, resource allocation, and adoption and scalability. And if we want to kind of like all those challenges also demand effective action, which are that we have efficiency gains and cost reduction, then the adaptation to market conditions, as well as secure process compliance, and then strengthening competitiveness. So all these actions demand supply chain orchestration. And after all, it's all about supply chain. And well, you wonder, okay, what is supply chain orchestration? So it's the coordination management of people, processes, and systems across the supply chain to ensure a smooth, efficient end-to-end operation. And supply chain is easier said than done. So the problem is that you have inefficiency due to disconnected systems and manual processes. And therefore, the objective is to improve responsiveness, transparency, and also reliance. And the solution is to optimize operations. The solution to optimize operations is to see real-time data and also automation capabilities.
Thanks, Lina. This is exactly what we are also aiming as of today, right? In case you participated at Sapphire last week in Madrid, or 2 weeks ago in Orlando, we see a huge trend when it comes to business AI, data clouds, and business excellence around business processes with SAP Signavio and application management with Lina X. And yeah, back to you, Lina, about the SAP Signavio suite here.
Yes, now let's take a look at SAP Signavio Process Insights and how it supports supply chain orchestration and optimization. So this tool provides a quick data-driven insights into your core end-to-end processes using pre-built analysis that cover all major areas of your supply chain. And it helps to detect inefficiencies right away and points to ready-to-use correction measures, including areas with the potential for cost savings and performance improvements. And what's also valuable is the ability to track and optimize process KPIs like life cycle times, bottlenecks, and blockers, especially in your logistic lines of business. So overall, Process Insights gives you a clear picture of where things are slowing down and how to fix them. And on the other hand, we have SAP Signavio Process Intelligence, which takes process analysis a step further by using process mining to uncover the root causes of operational bottlenecks in your supply chain. And it helps you identify deviations from standard processes, so you not only see where problems occur, but also why they do and why they happen. One key benefit is to spot automation opportunities in repetitive tasks like both receipt or order processing, which can drive significant efficiency gains. And you can also visualize and optimize workflows across different plants and company codes to ensure they align with best practice standards. So in short, Process Intelligence gives you the deep insight needed to fix your issues, and it also continuously improves your supply chain operations at scale. And now let me hand over to Philipp. He's going to show you how these challenges fit when it comes to your supply chain orchestration.
Yes, thank you very much. One small difference that I want to highlight between Process Insights and Process Intelligence, both are process analysis tools, right? Both are giving you an idea how your process is performing. The main difference is Process Insights is basically out of the box. You press a button and then you have your whole ERP system, and with the supply chain parts that I will show in a second, analyzed. You can see how are they performing based on an SAP catalog. It's giving you an idea what could be better. It's giving you an idea where the process is hurting. And once you have that idea, you can take it into Process Intelligence, and you can then really drill down. You can dig deep into that one process, not into the broad scheme of your ERP system, but into your one process, into your plan to fulfill, into your order to cash, whichever process you want to focus on, and really take a look at how is it performing, where is it hurting, why is it hurting, not only where, but also why and how to fix it properly then. If I press this button, does it work? No. Joe, I don't have control. Now I have control.
It takes time.
So how does process analysis interlink our supply chain solutions? We have our supply chain orchestration. This is what this webinar is about. The supply chain orchestration takes a big look at your ERP system with Process Insights, like I mentioned, but also at our supply chain modules. You have your SAP IBP, you have your EWM, you have your TM. Hidden in that TM is also a bit of yard logistics, but we're not focusing on that today. So those are the three pillars that supply chain orchestration is focusing on. And we have our two solutions. We have Process Insights with the broad scheme, and we have Process Intelligence where we're digging deeper. And each of those solutions is covered, each of those pillars is covered in each of the solutions differently. You have your direct connection to an EWM, to an TM, which is basically running either embedded or next to our ERP system, where Process Insights is then not only analyzing your sub ERP system, but also the EWM solution, the TM solution. You can identify your bottlenecks, you can identify where your warehouse is lagging, you can get your fact-based insights into how your extended warehouse management could be improved. The same is going for TM. You have your inefficiencies in transport execution with your delays, your cost, your overruns, which can also be improved. For IBP, you can take a look and you can analyze your MRP planning trends. You can see them over time and visualize and then identify the issues there and take them one step deeper into your Process Intelligence. Like I explained, you have your insights for the broad view, and once you have identified the issues, you're taking them deeper into your process mining. Where for IBP, for EWM, for TM, you have your best practice focus dashboards. You are looking at in EWM, you're looking at a plan to fulfill, which is basically outbound inventory movement. In TM, you're looking at your transportation execution. In IBP, you're trying to align demand, supply, and financial planning with focus dashboards, with ideas that you're trying to improve, where you have your starting point. In IBP, you have your reduced days to inventory. For EWM, you have your on-time delivery performance, or you have your revenue loss. And in TM, you are trying to reduce the transportation spend. Before we dive deeper and before I show you how process mining works in detail and in the supply chain orchestration on an example of our extended warehouse management, I want to take it one step higher again. We're not only looking at analyzing processes. SAP Signavio has a lot more to offer than just analyzation, which is a weird sentence for me to say, because usually I have to explain, okay, SAP Signavio does more than process modeling, because that's what it's known for. But there's SAP Signavio contains 6 modules in itself. You always have your landing page, you have your process collaboration hub, which is the circle in the middle, and then you have your 6 outside rings. On the right, we're looking at process analysis. Those are intelligence and insights. You got to know them. The upper ones are your process management. And on the right, you're looking at process governance framework. And for each of these modules, for each of these solutions, the supply chain orchestration offers content, right? In process modeling, we're looking at best practice models, best practice processes for your idea to market, for your plan to fulfill. You have your whole process house for the supply chain, which is covered in the SAP Signavio Process Manager. For the process analysis, we have our tailored process analysis. Here, the screenshot is the optimization of warehouse operations in our EWM. We have that for IBP, for TM, for Yard, for Ariba we're working on. But all of the supply chain parts, all of the modules get orchestrated together. And on the right, we have our rigorous process governance framework, where you can automate, where you can govern the processes once you are happy with the best practice house, once you have put it to your needs. SAP Signavio process governance can take over and can make sure that those processes are run perfectly. Those processes are being governed the way you need them to be. So now we're diving deep. I always like to start with promises. If you think of process analysis and if you think of process mining and you always have a goal in mind, you know, okay, my plan to fulfill is hurting. Why is it hurting? And what do I want to achieve? Those are 2 questions. And those 2 questions, I want to separate in 2 methodologies, more or less. You start with your initial analysis and you have your ongoing observation. Those are 2 parts. Usually in a project, those are also like 2 waves. We always have our initial analysis. The initial analysis starts with what is our current as-is. We connect our ERP, we connect our EWM TM, and we have the system tell us, okay, what's happening here? What is our fact-based process truth? What is our system actually doing? With that, we also get the information. How are we using that system? How are we using plans, accounts, transaction codes? And in the first look, we're identifying our bottlenecks and our shortcomings in the process execution, which roughly looks like this. The first screenshot is our conformance check, where we see, okay, is the process being followed the way we are hoping it to be followed, either on our own process maps that we're modeling, that we're analyzing, or we can compare it with best practice and see, okay, how is our system measuring against the best practice? And the second screenshot is our generated as-is process map. It's basically, we're taking the system and we're saying, okay, these variants, these types of process execution we really like, turn them into a process map with the click of a button. Takes a second, super easy. Once we're happy with the initial analysis, once we have identified our as-is, and once we have identified, okay, here I want to touch, here I want to make it better, this is my hurting point, let's start fixing it. Then you want to start measuring. You want to start observing, okay, are the changes that I'm implementing, are they actually doing something? Are they turning it better? And with that, we are going into our ongoing observation. We start creating process metrics. We start creating value cases. We start creating dashboards to keep an eye on how our process is performing, how our process is, if they are actually turning better with the implementation of the changes. With that, we're also keeping track in our transformation management, which then roughly looks like this. Here we have our focus dashboards. We have some KPIs, we have some graphs, we have some overtime changes, which is nice to look at. So those are process analysis promises. Those sound good, they sound great. The question is, how do we get there? How do we get to the initial analysis? And how do we get to the ongoing observation? Which is not an easy question to answer, but I answer it nonetheless. We're doing the right approach with Westernacher on an example of our extended warehouse management, on our warehouse excellence through process mining. And with this, I'm roughly looking at like a 4-week window. With a little asterisk, we're assuming an 80% capacity. This is rather realistic when you actually sit down and when you work on it. So in those 4 weeks, I want to make you familiar with the 4 phases of process mining. The first 3 are pretty usual. You have your extract, transform, load. If you ever heard of ETL, that's exactly what it stands for, extract, transform, load. You're extracting the system data. You're transforming it into process data. You're loading it into the dashboards. And then comes the 4th phase, because that's not where it ends. That's where it starts. Then you start analyzing the process data that you actually have and that you actually want to work with, right? So for the extraction, we have the first step. We have our initial extraction. We need to get the data out of our source system. For that, we have a starting point. That starting point is our ERP system with an EWM, either embedded or running next to it, doesn't matter, as long as we have a starting point. We connect to the live productive system. This is important. You can also connect process mining to a demo system. You can connect process mining to a test system. The question is, does it make sense? No, it doesn't. With process mining, you want to do a process analysis, and the quality of the analysis is heavily dependent on the quality of the data. Test systems and demo systems usually don't have the data quality that you want to achieve. For that, we use the productive system because that's actually the process performance that we want to analyze, right? This is the, yeah. And once we have the connection, we extract the process data. We extract the SAP tables with the data model that we have. Okay, so far so good. Initial extraction is done. Week 1 is over. Now we're stepping into week 2 with our process data transformation, basically saying, okay, we have our SAP tables. Now, what do we do with those SAP tables? This is also where the model starts to get a bit complicated. We have some gateways there. I will explain them in a bit. For now, we're focusing on the little circles. So we're going right at the end of the process transformation. Remember, we have all the subtables in there. And now we're taking the tables and we're transforming them into business objects. The process data is always following so-called business objects. We're here in our warehouse excellence example, we're following the sales order item, which means whenever we create a sale, whenever we want to sell something to a customer, something needs to happen right in our warehouse. We have a box that needs to go somewhere. So we're tracking the sales order item. We're tracking the logistic execution outbound delivery item, which is the item that happens in ERP. This gets then moved to the EWM system, and there it gets turned into an outbound delivery order item. And in the EWM system, we also have warehouse tasks, which are getting created, they get confirmed, and they are also being tracked in our process data. With the successful data transformation, we are then loading, right? We have our subtables, they are turned into business objects, and now we need to do something with that data. We need to put it somewhere. So basically we're loading it into the dashboards that we created for the analyzation later, right? Remember the promises, we have the initial analysis and we have the ongoing observation, both need to be fed with the process data that we want to achieve. So we're putting our transformed process data into the analysis, and this is where the first quality check happens. This is where Westernacher is saying, okay, you have your process data based on the initial extraction. So we extract it once at point N. If we extract it today, that process data doesn't get updated. Even if we move week 1, week 2, week 3, it's still the same data. It doesn't get automatically, magically updated. So we're scheduling data extractions. We're saying, okay, every sales order item that has been touched, that has been updated, that has been changed, that has been created after our initial extraction, let's keep them rolling. Let's keep them coming in so that we're always looking at live process data. Live, because you can set it up the way you want. You can say, okay, give me hourly, if it makes sense to you, to update hourly, if your system offers that. You can also say daily, weekly, monthly. I would also go with, I would always go with weekly, Monday morning. If you have a very active system with hundreds of thousands of sales order items per day, I would update daily. But as long as we're not looking at those numbers, I would go weekly. So we're keeping the data updated. So we have a loop back to the schedule, to the data extraction, which is then also getting transformed with the update. Secondly, we now start talking with the customer again. We talked with the customer in the beginning because we agreed on the project, right? After week 0, after kickoff, basically what I do is I talk with the IT. I talk with networking. I talk with SAP Basis team to get the data in there. The project owner, the process owner, the process excellence, the center of excellence gets included in week 3 because now we have data to look at. Now we have process data that is no longer just lines and tables and items. Now we actually have numbers. Now we can actually start talking about things. So the first thing we do with the customer, we do validation workshops. We check, is the process data that we're putting here, is it accurate? Does the number of sales order item make sense to you? Does the number of warehouse tasks make sense to you? Does the value of those things make sense to you? If the answer is no, and the answer can be no, there's chances it's no, then we need to move back a bit. So we need to enhance the data model because there's set tables we're not including, there's set fields we're not including, there's process logic that just happens differently from the way SAP is expecting it. So we need to enhance it, and that's why there's a bit of space left. We then have the process data customization, and now is where the gateways that I ignored in the beginning now they become more important because this is where they jump in. So how do we enhance the data model? We enhance the data model by including custom tables, by including custom fields to accurately extract the process data the way we need it. With including custom fields and tables, we also need to adjust the transformation scripts, simply because once you add things, you also need to do something with those things. If you don't do something with those things, you don't need to add them. So yes, the process transformation script gets updated, goes back into the loop, and then we're transforming successfully, we're loading successfully, and we're going back to the feedback loop if it now makes sense with the customer. As long as it doesn't make sense, we are going back to the customization until it makes sense. So let's say this loop is successful. Let's say the data is now reflective of our customer system. The data is now perfectly with sales order items, with delivery items, with warehouse tasks. Everything is working. Everything is looking realistically. It doesn't need to look perfect. It certainly doesn't have to be that all the metrics are green and all the process is running perfectly, because that's what we're here for, right? We want to analyze it. The goal is that we analyze realistically. We don't need to analyze perfectly, we need to analyze realistically so that the data is realistic. Okay, we now have process data that makes sense, and we're now putting it somewhere. We are loading into our initial process analysis. If you remember the promises, those two big columns, we're now looking at the left one. And the left one is our initial analysis. We are running a process discovery based on the findings that our process mining is generating. We are looking at the process conformance. Are the steps taken in the system, are they reflective of the process models that we came up with? Are we happy with what it's showing? And we're also automatically generating our BPMN maps just for our as-is analysis. Once we're done with that, once we're done with the analysis, we're also running workshops. We're running workshops with the customer, showing him, okay, this is your process discovery, this is the conformance controls, this is the observation, this is your as-is process maps. Are you happy with that? Yes, no, maybe. If the answer is no, then this is the first question mark that we're taking into the further process analysis. How do we need to adjust the process? Where is maybe the system doing something different? Where are people doing something different? How do we need to adjust the process to make it better, make it smoother? Which is then taken into our second promise, which is then taken into our ongoing process observation. And you see there's a little dot right before. Because while we're running the process analysis, while we're looking at amounts of sales order items, while we're looking at amounts of delivery items, we're also creating metrics. We're creating process metrics with a shipment reliability, with warehouse task fulfillment rates. Just as an example, there's like 30 process metrics that are being created. Those process metrics then can be tracked through our transformation manager. You can create value cases. You can put, people love putting euro signs next to your metrics so that you can track and you can see, okay, how much can I gain or how much can I save by improving my process? And when those metrics are going into the green, we are doing something right. So the process observation with the little dashboard, the focus dashboards, we are analyzing the process performance metrics. We are identifying the shortcomings and the bottlenecks, and we are creating the process observation dashboards. And with that, we also have our enablement workshops. We're going to the customer, we're showing him, okay, this is the process observation dashboard, these are the focus dashboards. How do we need to adjust them? Do you need, fitting to you, do you need other dashboards, other metrics that we need to take a look at? What are numbers that you want to highlight? What are thresholds that you want to set? What are goals that you want to set? Do you want to have custom actions? For example, every time the process data is loaded, you can have like automated action that can say, okay, my warehouse task fulfillment rate is now below 70%. Maybe look at that. You can set that up. And we take the customer at the hand and we're showing the customer, these are your dashboards. We're enhancing them with the customer and we're enabling our customer, our business process analysts in the center of excellence at our customer. Thank you.
Beautiful, Philipp. That was well done. And at the same time, also promise that was the last technical slides. Well, but we are all familiar with the slogan, data is the new gold. And here it's all about sense making of the data. We have data everywhere, end to end. So not only our SAP S/4HANA ERP data for all our lines of business, but also talking supply chain, the planning data, the transport data, the warehouse data. And here it's about, making sense to cope with the initially introduced challenges. But what is it even more concrete when we talk about the value, what is in for you? So typically when we analyze a process, we talk about two major dimensions. The first one is fast time to insights. So with process mining and SAP Signavio, overall capabilities for your process analysis. It helps you to quickly identify the pain points and the general process performance. So you can make decisions quicker, and those decisions have a higher quality because you make those decisions based on facts, based on figures. Data doesn't lie. And not only based on gut feeling anymore. And the second would be the fast time to adaptation. So fast time to adapt. So meaning we have the insights, now we can react. SAP Signavio brings you out of the box correction recommendations or innovation recommendations using SAP S/4HANA capabilities or other intelligent capabilities around robotic process automation or business AI. So what does it even mean more concretely? So we had a look on 3 major value dimensions on how SAP Signavio can help you orchestrating your supply chain. The first one would be with a pure technical focus. We all aim to be more and more in standard, especially for processes that are very redundant, very manual. So it already helps identify harmonization potential on the technical level. So we analyze the technical data, we analyze the overall system landscape, and then we see potentials regarding the standardization potentials. Hand in hand, the simplification. The more we follow the standard, the more simplified the process looks like in the back end, and we're easier to scale up and down. This is especially relevant when it comes to the agility. Oftentimes we need to scale up based on demands or scale down. So we have better insights to actually take action on it. After all, it's also about the business processes. So we are a huge fan of promoting best practices. The SAP is providing best practices for literally any solution out there. So why not make life easier than harder and not always reinvent the wheel? I mean, there's a lot of knowledge and content out there. At the same time, it's also about compliance. So especially if you are a company under audit, you want to always have a timestamp and fact-proof process history, but also ensuring the overall performance of your supply chain solutions, that they go hand in hand. On the one hand, we have the system performance, on the other hand, we have the process performance. And SAP Signavio combines those two worlds. And lastly, on the strategic layer, this is especially relevant when it comes to your long-term ambitions. You might have a vision 2030. You have certain objectives that you want to achieve, leaner, faster, more efficient, you name it. You want to eventually innovate, leveraging the latest AI capabilities, for instance. So what we are doing here with SAP Signavio is, on the one hand side, standardize and simplify and harmonize your business processes as much as possible so that you can ultimately leverage the latest technology available. That's also proven in various studies that, okay, AI is everywhere, but it only makes sense when you have a solid data and business process foundation. It doesn't make sense to add it on top and expect everything out of AI if you don't have the proper processes and landscape aligned. So we see it as a very baseline for everything you want to initiate in future, because everything is around business processes within the overall supply chain, and not only supply chain, it's your entire business running on business processes, on the systems and on the data, and ultimately, of course, the people working with it. We have a great overall user satisfaction feedback when it comes to the usability. So it's very intuitive to see. You saw some screenshots, but we're always happy to walk you through the models in a separate deep dive. Now, I also brought some customer success stories with us. So today we are focusing on a customer based out of Sweden. It's in the processing industry. We analyzed not only supply chain but also the overarching lines of business, finance, procurement, and sales, most notably in a broader end-to-end process of procure to pay and order to cash, where we analyze the processes with process insights and intelligence. So the customer was actually facing the following challenges. So it was very hard to uncover process inefficiency. There were many silos between the business areas. So at the same time, the business itself grew historically. So there was not so much of a transparency when it comes to overall process performance and traceability. At the same time, it was also a challenge to ensure the process compliance, because there were auditors checking the company's operations, and of course also the collaboration between the departments was a huge challenge, especially when it comes to continuous improvement and process optimization. So our solution here was running the in-depth process analysis with the process intelligence, as we just saw from Philipp, but also with process insights. So with process insights, we identify the big tickets, the big bottlenecks up front, and then dive deeper with process intelligence, leveraging pretty much all process mining capabilities. So from traditional spaghetti diagram, the process discovery, over the process conformance, the live insights, all the way to the automated insights and actions. So everything that SAP Signavio Process Intelligence has in store. And what surprised us was a pretty decent value of a potential return on investment. So on the one hand side, we identify over $1 million in potential value when it comes to cost savings. This goes hand in hand with the working capital savings of almost, it's around 93K per year, which is nice because the system tells you, oh, you have cost reduction potentials here, you have efficiency gain potentials there, reduce finance costs here. You can see out of the box how you can improve your days sales outstanding or days payable outstanding, and you see also how the process is linked to your various lines of business. So if we think of a broader procure to pay, it's not only logistics. We have touch points to procurement, we have touch points to finance, etc. After all, we also identified a decent automation rate, which after all also leads to better productivity. So as we are able to automate redundant, repetitive tasks more using robotic process automation or SAP Builds process automation, we can free up the time of the workers so that they can focus on oftentimes more relevant tasks, rather than being occupied with those oftentimes boring repetitive tasks. Okay, now we at Westernacher, you might know us as one of the leading companies around supply chain topics in general. We're in the market since the summer of '69 with various warehousing, transportation management, and IBP topics. We are more than 1,200 as of now. With a global footprint, we are more than 28 countries. And what you see on this page is what is all about SAP Signavio and SAP Lina. SAP is calling it business transformation management. And when it comes to supply chain orchestration, now really combining Signavio or Lina with the supply chain solutions from SAP, we are now more than 40 consultants in this space. Having served more than 30 projects over the last 3 years. And we are very proud to be accredited expert from SAP. So we fulfill a certain quality gates so that we can name ourselves expert in this field. We also offer pretty much everything around SAP Signavio and Lina, so everything enterprise architecture management, to really more like combine both the system side Lina X, and the process side with Signavio. Pretty much end-to-end for pretty much also any industry out there. The most important of this session is to eventually trigger you, make you curious. We're always happy to have a deep dive because today's session was pretty much of a introduction. The topic itself is very, very broad, very complex, but also very exciting, interesting, and you can see the passion in our eyes that we are fully behind it. We're always happy to have like an informal discussion with you, have a coffee. Other than that, I thank you personally and in the name of Westernacher for your attention. And now we have 10 minutes for some questions and answers.
Yes, I can see that there are already 3 questions. So the first one is, can SAP Signavio connect to data lake instead of SAP ERP for extract, or only direct to SAP ERP?
Before I hand over to Philipp, yes, it can. That was actually our very first project back in 2021, where we connected to data lake. It was Snowflake, but maybe Philipp, you want to add more?
Yes, I've actually been reflecting on that question a bit while you were speaking. So SAP Signavio offers so-called value accelerator library. It's basically jump-starting your process analysis with all of end-to-end processes that you can imagine that are being run in ERP. Why I'm bringing up the value accelerator library? Those value accelerators, they include the process data template, like the process models and the data models, the actual tables that you need and the fields that you need. So they're a good starting point. But when you install the value accelerator library, it doesn't actually care where you connect it to. So to pick up on Joe's answer, yes, you can connect a data lake. It would even be faster if your data lake roughly replicates the data structure of ERP. If you have roughly the same tables, fields in there, you don't have to switch the process logic. You don't have to switch the transformation logic. But process intelligence doesn't really care where the data comes from. You can connect directly to Signavio Process Insights, for example, plug and gain. You can connect to any SAP ERP system. You can connect to any non-SAP ERP system. You can connect to any database on EWS, on Oracle, on Azure. You can upload data yourself as long as it's an event.
That's your question, I think. Thanks.
So,
I hope that, I think otherwise feel free to follow up, but not to cut when we have 2 or more or even more questions.
Yes. How many days, month of data are good to get meaningful analysis for EWM system?
Do you mind if I take this question?
Yeah, come on.
I keep it short. So like I said, there's 2 promises for 2 things. For your initial analysis, for your first look at your assets, I would always suggest at least a year of data, because then you have a full production cycle with all your seasonalities, and you can actually get the system truth out of it. You can see how is your Christmas market going, how is your Easter, how is your summer low. Once you are done with your assets, I would reduce the amount of data, because more data points means more licensing, means more costs. Once you're done with assets and once you want to observe how your system is doing, I would reduce it to 3 to 6 months to see your performance. You don't have to look at more than a year for the ongoing observation.
Okay, thank you. So there's one more. If anyone else has questions, please just pass them in the chat. So data does not lie, but how do you make sure that data is correct and really reflects customer ERP processes in Signavio? For example, that all the process steps and possible enhancements are considered, so that all the data, including additional tables and fields, are included. How do you compare and validate Signavio content to the ERP operational system? So, your question in that one.
Basically, one good indicator is the amount of business objects. Like, are we getting all of the sales documents? Are we getting all of the warehouse tasks? If the number is lower than what they're expecting, that's a good starting point. Secondly, I would sit together with an SAP admin, because they know what tables are included, what tables are important, what tables are for reporting purposes. Those we can exclude. and what Z tables are important for process logic. Where are they doing process steps that we are not considering yet? The thing with process mining is you only find what you're looking for. So you need to know which tables do I look at, what fields do I look at. Once the data is in Signavio and once you see, okay, we're now looking at 30 Z tables, we're looking at 600 Z fields, you can start reducing. If you realize, okay, those data sets are not changing the process logic in any sense, you can start reducing. If you know, okay, a warehouse task does, there's a confirmation, okay, but we also have a different process step that we are currently not looking at, you can enhance the transformation scripts. You can add new steps as long as you understand how it's reflected in the data. You can adjust the transformation scripts to show the process steps that you're expecting to see.
But indeed, it's a very valid question, especially when it comes to warehousing. Not every company is fully digitalized. There are oftentimes truck drivers that just sign a paper to showcase that the process is done. So everything that is not in the system, we cannot obviously analyze. But another nice customer success was a simple, like if the truck driver is done, he clicks on a button like push, and this would now populate a certain table entry. As soon as we have an event log with the timestamp, we can include it in the analysis. And a step further, if you're familiar with SAP Lean IX, it's about the application landscape. Best case, you have the overall application reality within Lean IX, where we then can connect to Signavio with the inbuilt integration, and then have pretty much all the data points visible at the fingertip.
Okay, so those are all the questions, if no one else has a question.
Wonderful. Yeah, good. Then I think we can close it also sharp 2 minutes ahead. That's pure efficiency. And I one more time thank you and have a good evening, good day, and a good morning wherever you are. Thank you and see you around. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.